All right, so let's go through this. So you got into advanced inner circle. What was the difference when you started getting into the training, like even advanced 3.0 and advanced inner circle? What were some things you started to notice after a few months about how your prospects were reacting to you now compared to before?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I struggled. I had a good conceptual basis of the process of NEPQ, and I had it down as a science, in the trainings. So when I got out into the real world and saw real clients, and I'm implementing these things that I've learned, it didn't always click. So I struggled for maybe 2-3 weeks, just like bashing my head against the wall, saying like, I know this, it should work. Like, why isn't it working?
Yeah.
And then like in April, I just put my head down and I didn't look at numbers. I just, booked as many consults as I could, got out there, and just, stuck with it. And it was really, I guess, my tone that kind of, I got more confident. It's like working out. The more reps you get, the heavier lifting you do.
100%, because if you go in and you ask some of the questions we train you, but you come across in, like, let's say, a less than confident tone, you're just triggering uncertainty in the prospect's mind, right?
Without a doubt. Yeah.
100%, right? Because if you sound uncertain, like you're not quite sure why you're asking the question, or you're not quite you feel like, oh, I don't know if I should ask this consequence question because they might get pissed off. That comes out in your tone,
right? And
your prospect's emotions shut down. So once you actually started implementing what we trained you, how did your prospects start to treat you?
It was, I hear you say it on all these tidbits, but it is you're speaking facts when it says it. But like the just calming effect that I got, and then I was able to just kind of see it in them as well. Like their guard just kind of comes down, and there was no pressure on either end, and I would have just honest conversations. Like, I'm really trying to be here to help you.
Yeah.
I
want to make sure everybody understands these are skilled conversations. They're not Todd just going in there, hey, how's the weather? How you doing today? Like, that's not going to close any deals.
Exactly.
And Todd's also not saying that, hey, he gets in there and at the end he's like, well, if you want to let me know. Like, that's not going to close any deals either. There's a step-by-step structure. Make sure everybody understands that. Let's talk about some of the questions you've learned how to ask. Now, we'll just give an example from each stage. Like every stage of the sales process, you're probably going to ask 3 to 5 different connection questions and 4 to 5 different situations and 4 different problem areas. But let's just maybe give them one example of each. So what's a good connection question that you've learned how to ask, and how do your prospects respond to that? We'll give them one example.
Yeah. Usually on the discovery call that we'll book, because we have kind of a 2-call, you have discovery call and then you go out to the in-home consultation.
Yeah.
Usually on the discovery call is where we handle a lot of the connecting questions. The best one that I've found opens them up. I basically will say, like, I don't want to assume anything here. I know you just contacted Sunset or contacted our manufacturer just yesterday, but like, have you found what you're looking for? You're still looking, and just saying general like that, really just like, oh no, I'm still looking. And then I'll be like, well, do you know what you're looking for specifically?
Yeah, in that example, that's an outbound lead, right? So it's not, you wouldn't ask that question if they booked on your calendar and you're in the home, or if you had them on Zoom. I want to make sure everybody understands that. So he's talking about outbound leads who've filled in their information. They know somebody's calling them. They just don't know who and when, right?
Yep.
So when you basically become unbiased, so have you found what you're looking for? Or are you still looking for XYZ? Now, what do you, because you want to add in what the XYZ is. So what do you add in there? Because you don't want to say, go ahead.
So depending on the information that we get, we obviously have an idea that they're looking for some sort of shade product. So I'll say, like, have you found what you're looking for in a shade product, or are you still looking for a viable option? Okay. Something along that line. Because we have awnings, we have shades in this.
Found what you're looking for, or are you still looking for ways to really shade your XYZ? I don't know, something like that. Okay. And and you're saying that they open it, they're like, oh no, I'm still looking. And okay, that's good. Yeah, that's good. There's some other connection questions that are really important for your industry right after that, for sure. What about situation questions? Like, what is a good situation question that because there's about 4 or 5 you'd ask in your industry, but what's a good situation question that you're now asking from NEPQ that's really causing them to engage?
So again, it's what are you currently doing to get shade over your deck or patio, so that you don't fry when you're out there. Like that's a more wordy type of question. I sometimes will keep it just a little bit more vague, again, to get to have them open up and kind of break down those walls. Because again, the idea here is that they're coming to us. They've been to our manufacturer's website many times. They've been to our website, so they do have a little bit more knowledge than just picking up the phone and making a phone call. So now, I try to keep it a little bit more general.
Let me make sure I understand that tone, because you'd probably want to have like a playful tone there at the end, because that would make sense. So what are you guys doing now, like to have that shade back there so you're not frying like an egg in the summer? Or do you say it kind of sarcastically? Like, give us a tone there, because you got to hit the tone there. You wouldn't say like, what are you doing now to get shade so you don't fry in the summer? Like, boring. Yeah, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I look at this as like a domino effect. So like connecting situation, all that, and really the information that I'm getting upstream is really going to dictate the tone or the sarcasm or the humor that I'm going to introduce there. So if I get a person who's just like really stiff, then I'm going to probably keep it a little bit more general and not joke around with them for lack of a better word. But yeah, I mean, there's been times where you make cheeky comments or something like that off, just to kind of get them to hook it up.
It humanizes the conversation, for sure.
Exactly.
Really practice the tone and the sarcasm, for sure. Now, there's other situation questions you'll need to ask after that. But what about a problem awareness question? Like, what's a good question in problem awareness that we've taught you that gets the prospect to see that maybe they had bigger problems they originally thought they had?
Yeah. So this is a part of NEPQ that I feel like for my industry is pretty tricky, because like I said earlier, like the discretionary funds and stuff, this is more about people, wanting, chasing after pleasure as opposed to running away from pain. So the problem
depends if they're frying in the summer.
Well, true. Yeah. So that's an easy, like, I don't have anything right out there. Oh, so do you like?
What are you wanting to use your back porch for? Okay.
Right. So
my grandkids to be able to come over more, but we're never able to go outside because it's so hot. See?
Right. And then I'll follow that up with like an impact type of question. Like, and so, how has that impacted your ability to use the space or the amount of time that you can use the space?
Because you're solving an emotional need, right?
Correct. Yeah. So that one's a little bit more problem awareness forward, but we find I find a lot of success in the solution awareness section, and really kind of drawing out how we can solve their problems. With some different.
Problem awareness questions. There's different angles you would take, right, depending on what you sell. Like, what you're doing, you wouldn't say, do you like the blank, because they don't have anything there. That wouldn't make any sense. So, I might lean in. So maybe tell me, like a sale that you just made, tell me their situation and what their emotional needs were or problems. Why did they want the awning in the first place?
Yeah. I sold one yesterday. Granted, that was pretty much a layup, but typically what a typical problem is that they have an umbrella. Okay. And I say, okay, well, how long have you had the umbrella? How long you've been using that? It's more of a situation. Yeah. And then they'll be like, oh, well, it's, I've had it for this amount of times. I'm like, okay. And how's that worked out for you? Meaning, like, trying to understand, like, what issues they've had. And then I'll just kind of confirm with them, like, so actually, I guess, no, this is probably a problem awareness question. The rationale question. in problem awareness. That is
a really good one for your industry, for sure.
That is a 100% must ask. I tell, our sales guys that, like, the rationale question for us really, what I like to call, like, raises one side of the box, right? And so for problem awareness, just so I can kind of understand the rationale for looking at a retractable awning, like why get one of these retractable awnings as opposed to, I don't know, like getting a bigger umbrella from Walmart or Home Depot? Like why not do that?
Reason why,
Yeah, then they're like, oh, that's, it blows around and it ends up in my neighbor's yard and I replace it every year. So I'm like, oh, okay. So having something more permanent is important then, right?
So I might even, you might even change it around where you're asking the rationale question sooner in problem awareness.
Correct.
Where you're saying, okay, so help me understand, just so I can see the rationale, but, besides just, wanting this awning out here, like what's the main reason why you're looking for an awning rather than just, getting a bigger umbrella for Walmart or something?
Yeah, and to that point, Jimmy, the one of the coaches that kind of brought me through 3.0, he always talks about the rationale Rolodex. So, like, based on situation, if they've used an umbrella, then I'm going to use the rationale against umbrella. If they have nothing, then I'll use like what's the rationale? What's the main reason you're looking at doing this now, as opposed to just waiting it out for the summer, seeing how things go.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I like that. Yeah, that's good. All right. So solution awareness question. What's a good solution? There's many solution awareness questions you need to ask for your space, but maybe give everybody one. What's a good
so kind of complementing the rationale question, you lift that one side of the box, which takes them away from, wanting to go down the umbrella route. I will either follow that up with an out there looking, like, have you been out there, before speaking to us or before going to the retractable awning side of things? Like, have you been out there looking for ways to get shade out here, or what have you been doing about that?
Yeah.
And then they're like, I'm trying to find whether they've talked to other companies, so pre-handling the 3 bids objection.
Yeah.
And if they said, oh no, I haven't done anything. Oh, okay. Well, is there something that's prevented you from looking into this before? Now it's like, possible financial things, qualifying it that way.
Yeah.
I will also ask, Jeremy, I'll also ask a kind of a follow-up to the rationale. If they're talking like, oh, well, we're looking for, a roof. We talked about putting a roof on there, right? Or something more permanent. I'll ask, like, okay, well, what's the main reason you're looking to go a roof as opposed to something, something along those lines? Then it's like, okay, now I've got the roof out of there. Oh, that's too much money. I can't do that. Okay, that side's up. Then it's like, I've had the rationale from the umbrella. The only option is for going
is your solution.
Retractable. Yeah.
All right. What's a good consequence question that you're asking that causes them to like really dig in their heels and tell you why they need to change now and not down the road?
Yeah, so pretty stock standard NEPQ consequence question. I mean, I'll sit there and I'll go through and make up the proposal, and I say, like, I'll just kind of lean back and say, so we come in and we get this awning 20 feet wide, 11 feet 8, out, and you're able to use this space. I'll ask them how they want to use it first off, and then I'll just kind of flip around and I'll be like, well, that sounds great, right? But, have you considered, or what happens if you don't do this? What happens if you don't do anything? Like, what's your alternative what's your plan B, And
so let's say what's the main reason why a person would want an awning? Just like the top 2 or 3 reasons.
To get shade, protection, use the deck because it's so hot. Those are the popular ones.
So they want to enjoy the summers to be able to use the shade, right? That's really
get more shade, I guess. Yeah,
to get more shade, to be able to stay outside and enjoy the summer rather than just sitting inside, or if they go outside, they're going to boil to death, right?
Right.
Okay, but what happens if you don't do anything? Yeah, have you thought about the consequences if you don't do anything about this? Something like that. Yeah, it could even be more specific. I don't know. I haven't looked at your sales structure for a while, but I don't know if you have more of a specific one on there.
Yeah, I mean, it's what you get upstream is what you'll put.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay. And then we don't have time to go through your presentation or anything, but like, what's a good commitment question that you've learned to ask to get them to really take the next step to purchase what you're offering?
Yeah, again, pretty stock standard. It's the, with everything we've gone over here, you feel like this is the answer for you.
Yeah.
And then you shut up and they're, well, yeah. Oh, but okay. What makes you feel like it is the answer though?
Why do you feel like it is though? Like an NEPQ question, that's good. And what does the probing question typically do?
It just solidifies. It's the nail in the coffin. It just solidifies why they need to go with us. And yeah, it's like at that point, then I'll just kind of be like, all right, well, in order to get the ball rolling here,
here's the next steps.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand now. You're just this last month. You're converting like 71% now.
Yeah, I had a lucky month.
Now, tell me this, because last year at this time before NEPQ, you were converting at like 45, 48%. That's pretty good. So let's say going 48 to 71. Obviously, that's a lot better, more money. But have you noticed you're getting less laydowns lately because of the economy?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, our manufacturer came out to us, end of March, and we had a webinar that said, industry is down. Home improvement industry is down by more than 10%. Yeah. And well, how we feel you should combat that is, offer downsell the awning, from the premium package down to the lower package, because you're going to sell more. And if it comes down to it, cut price and do all this kind of stuff. And I'm just like, that is,
dude, that's the dumbest thing. You just have to learn how to sell better. You have to have more ability.
And it was funny because I even called them out on that webinar. I was like, this is bogus. Like, you should not be training hundreds of people in this industry to just cut price. It's like, that's the rubber chicken business,
that's like the take order business. You're commoditized because all you're focused on is price. All you're getting the prospects to think is price-based thinking. Where in NEPQ, we get your prospects to think results-based thinking. And when they start thinking results-based thinking, the price is not really the issue then.
Yeah. And nuances in the process there. I do touch on like, I have to do a little bit of a mindset reframe.
Sure.
Because our manufacturer, whatever, they make a great product, but they also, their marketing message is chasing the tail of an umbrella. And I'm like, I always tell my clients, like, if I'm going up against if you're looking at this from the mindset of an umbrella, like, you should just go get an umbrella. And I do the pushback, and they're like, well, why? Like, I want a retractable awning. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, but I'm going to give you this, and I got to give you that, and it's like, this is more of like a room, rain or shine, you can be out here, indoor, outdoor living. Yeah. And it's like, you get that functionality for much less than what a room would cost nowadays.
Yeah, so reframing their mind where they don't look at it like an umbrella, but they look like they're adding on to their house. They're adding on to their property. They're making their property more valuable, and they have a bigger house now rather than they just go outside and there's an umbrella there.
Correct.
That's a big deal. I didn't even think about it. That's good. All right. Any last words of advice you'd give to anybody, like maybe they're brand new to sales, or even like a vet who, was doing good like you are, but hey, man, they want to get to the next level?
Just keep grinding, following, doing the training. Before NEPQ, I read a lot of books and those kinds of things. Audible was my best friend. So like when I found NEPQ, it kind of put all those pieces in place that I had learned, and then had the infrastructure to it. So like, just keep grinding. If you have a bad week, like, just put your head down and don't look at your numbers, and look at it on a wider scale. But yeah, I mean, there's no real rhyme or reason.
Because if you just follow the process, like even when I was at the height of my game, as a W-2 rep making almost $3 million a year in commissions, I would still have weeks here and there that I had a down week, but I knew that the process worked, right? The structure worked. And then you know what happened the next week? Numbers went like doubled. And so it all balanced itself out, right? I was always making this amount pretty much consistently every single month. I wasn't like up one month, down the next, up one month, down the next. That's because you don't have a sales process that actually works. Your personality selling. And you're going to always be up and down. So when you have a process that works, even if you might have, let's say, a week that doesn't go as well, that next week's just going to make up for it. It just always will, 100% of the time. All right, brother. Thanks for being on. Now, you guys want to start acquiring skills like Todd? Okay. So, you know, almost doubling your commissions, doubling your income or more. And Todd's still learning. He's only been in there for about 4 months. Message me directly right now. You want to start making your first 10, your first 15, maybe your first 20,000 or even 30,000 a month in commissions and what you sell, or even higher, 40 or 50,000 every month in your industry. Message me directly right now. And either myself or one of our stunt doubles will message you back some different details. You can even book with a team member, one of our account managers, and our account manager can go over the different options we have for the different training programs depending on what you sell. Todd, well done, man. Are you a Phillies fan, Eagles fan? Who's your team?
Phillies, Eagles.
Phillies and Eagles, baby.
Yeah. Go Sixers. Sixers are playing tonight.
All right. The Flyers. Is it the Flyers?
They stopped playing a good month or two ago. They're no bueno. So
no bueno. All right, everybody. Thanks for being on, Todd. Thanks for being on. We appreciate you, man. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.
Thanks, Jeremy. Take care.